Hello, I'm your host Tess Gray, and I'd like to welcome you to Odd, the podcast where we discover hidden talent from South Florida and bring them into the limelight to promote their recent works and overall brand. This podcast may contain explicit language. Viewer discretion is advised. Thank you and enjoy. And I think, okay, it says recording in progress. Okay. How do I even start this? Oh, I'll say like the intro
You just
and
jump
then
right into it.
yeah. Solely, I'd like for you to start off by introducing yourself.
I think, hold up. Let me see. Yeah, for sure. Well, I'm Lee Sanchez. I am in a band called Ventures, VNTRS. I also do event productions with my booking agency called Manifest Bookings. And I'm also a stagehand, stage manager with Backroom Sessions. Yeah, I've been with them for about a couple, 3, 4 years now. So yeah.
Nice. And so how long have you been in the Florida scene for, like the South Florida?
I started around, I want to say 2018. Yeah, 2018 is when I first like got into the scene. Um I started off like just on Instagram searching up, hashtags on like local shows, local bands, local events. And I think one of the first posts I ever saw was a band called Top Tier. And they're doing shows in like MDC, like Miami-Dade College and stuff. I was just like, damn, this would be really cool to get into this. And then I found out there was a house show happening like in a week or so. And I told my boy, John, it's like, yo, let's go check this out. It's going to be really interesting and really fun to do. And yeah, honestly, that was probably my best experience ever going to that house show. It was really packed. There was a lot of people that I little by little kind of noticed on Instagram, following each other. They're doing a scene. This is a local scene.
Yeah. And I want to ask, like, who got you into the scene? Like, I know you've been for since 2018 and you've been here like with Backroom Sessions and Manifest, but who really got that passion started within you?
Um, Honestly, that passion, I guess, got driven um after recovering from chemotherapy and cancer. I'm a cancer survivor. I'm already in my 7th year. So I think after like 2 years in remission, I was just like, all right, I need to really focus and follow my dreams if I want to be a musician and really, really pursue this career of mine. And yeah, again, I honestly I have to give a lot of credit, mostly to a specific band called Hometown Losers. Probably into my second because they were on that bill on that first show,
Yeah.
and I came out to like they're hosting like an EP release probably a couple weeks after. And going into that second show, I remember meeting Will, the vocalist, and he was like, "Yo, I'm gonna remember your name, man. Like we're gonna do some work together." I was just like, "Wow, that's gonna be interesting." Um, and like every time I go to a show, they'll be there, and I'll hit them up and we'll talk, and they'll introduce me to other people and stuff like that. So that's how I kind of really grew into the local scene. Actually, funny enough, my former drummer, when I first started off Ventures, our first drummer, his name is Matt. When I started off with him, I told him, "Yo, I got a couple ideas. Like we could get on some shows, some house shows. We could play at Tea and Poets. We could play on this platform called Backroom Sessions." And he kind of stops me. He's like, "Yeah, I know that. I'm like, that's my brother's company." I'm like, "What do you mean?" It's like, "Yeah, my brother. His name is Rudy. Yeah, he
Oh
started
my
off with his
God.
girlfriend, his current like his girlfriend at the time, Angie Rivero. They're like, yeah, like he's my brother. He started Backroom Sessions, so we could totally play a show on those events." And I was like, awesome. That was just like a perfect my way into to the whole local scene and stuff.
So then your drummer was is Rudy's brother.
Yeah, yeah. My former drummer, when I first started off Ventures, Matthew, we all used to go to high school together. He was probably 2 grades below me. So he was like the only kid as far as my friend groups in high school. When I started playing guitar and like really wanted to pursue the music, everybody would tell me, yo, hit up Matt, like you should have Matt play for you. Um, and honestly, it ended up being a blessing in disguise.
Yeah. That's really I never knew that Rudy had siblings.
Yeah, Rudy has a couple siblings. Of course, his brother Matt plays in The Wrong Number.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he's actually right now the current drummer for the band called The Wrong Number.
Wow. That's really cool. And where are you originally from? Like, are you from Miami? And if so, what part of Miami?
Yeah, so I was born in Hialeah, but my mom is from Ecuador and my dad is from Guatemala. They actually met in like high school here in the Hialeah, Miami Lakes area. And then they actually grew a stronger bond when they were working in a local McDonald's. He was actually my dad was actually the manager, and my mom was like just a regular cashier, and they kind of like grew into that. But yeah, yeah. So my parents are for sure Hispanic, Latin American. But I grew up a lot with I had a babysitter, a nana, and a majority of my time I was just always with her because my mom was very busy trying to provide for me. So she was always working long hours. So most of the days I'll just be babysitted with a Cuban lady, a Cuban migrant that came, and she was like already in her like 60s. So a lot of what I grew up learning was a lot of like Cuban culture and Cuban heritage. So the big family events and stuff like that, cafecitos and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, honestly, I really grew up with that. So sometimes like, even when I speak Spanish, I have a lot of slang from different culture, especially Miami being so culturally diverse.
Yeah.
Yeah, I might have like a family member that's like Ecuadorian and Cuban, but like in high school you have best friends that it's either Dominican or they might be Haitian, so you grow up around those cultures and around that kind of environment.
Yeah. And so regarding your parents and well, your friends in general, who has been that one person that's been there with you all the way through with chemo and music and everything that you've gone through?
All right, I have to give a shout out to two people in particular. One will be my mom, my number one supporter since day one. Honestly, she really encouraged me a lot to pursue. She's a very business oriented lady. She's her own boss. So that kind of always struck me as a role model. Even throughout high school, she wasn't. I ended up actually dropping out like around ninth grade, and she was very encouraging me. She was like, "Look, as long as you focus, you're focusing on what path you want to really take." But of course, cancer got in the way, and I had to like really step back and really evaluate my whole life. But she was there, day and night. She honestly big supporter of mine. And then another big support that I had in would be my best friend Jonathan Corona. I've known him since middle school, and he's the main reason why I started Ventures. He came up with the name and the idea. Um, he was like, I mean, since I honestly the end of like high school, middle school, we always would do like the small talent shows at the school, and he's just the main one that I always wanted to write music with and start a band with. So he was there when I got diagnosed, and after I got into remission, and I told him, bro, like let's really pursue this music career. He was the main one that I hit up to come out to the first house show that I really went to.
That's cool. And is he in your band right now?
He's been through the band since again 2018 now into 2021. He sadly did lose a family member because of the whole COVID and pandemic. So that kind of really took a toll on him.
Yeah.
and his whole, his whole life and stuff like that. So he did step back from the spotlight of ventures, but he is very much involved with it. He very much is still a founding member, and he has a lot of decisions onto it right now. In the next process of ventures leading into 2022, 2023, he won't be necessarily in the spotlight, he won't be playing shows with us, but most definitely any sort of new bangers that we release, it could um generate from him, or he had a lot of saying into what we put out and the image that we're going to put out now.
Yeah. That's really cool. And I just saw a tattoo on your arm. Like, is that the Ventures logo?
Yes, actually right here. So I actually have a Sid, we call him Sid the sad boy. um I actually contacted backroom sessions creative director Louis Vigo.
Yeah.
He, since the start, he always wanted to work with us, and he kind of helped us re-image and rebrand ourselves. And we actually sat down with him for a while. He had a couple different like ideas for us, and we ended up sticking with Sid. We saw the little like demon, and he was like sad. So like that kind of honestly like really related a lot to me, because I have this, very negative, very sinful mindset. But I mean, again, it just brings you very like sadness and stuff like that. Because I always saw like the devil like a very sinful, he's happy, he's lusting, and he's having all fun, but at the same time, realistically, like there's a lot of probably sadness that a lot of people aren't seeing. So
Yeah.
yeah, honestly, I saw that this Sid the Sad Boy, and he stuck with me for a while.
That's cool. I've always wanted to get like when I first found out about Ventures, it was like 2020 when we did Safe Space. And
Mhm.
I saw the little stickers. I always thought like that was so cool. And Louis designed those.
Yeah, yeah. Louis came up with because we had like a couple color ideas, and we stuck with the like said it would be yellow, black outlining, and like the backdrop would be like red. So there's different versions of him. We do have him in like depending on what we like throw him on for like flowers and promos. He's either just a regular stencil that's like black and like, clear, or he'll be like yellow, or he'll have like a red outline also.
Nice. And
Mm.
so I do know that you're a musician and an event producer. And I personally already know you and I admire your music, especially 3 a.m. That one hits.
Thank you.
And I've been to a couple of the events that you've produced, just like the deleted films too. But how would you describe what you do to somebody who's never heard of Lee Sanchez?
Oh man, how to describe? Um, Man, I could say I'm a behind the scenes kind of guy. Like, I feel like a lot of things I have done in the local community has impacted a lot of people. Not in a big way, but like those small little things that I do has led into major outcomes. Like, I could have a band or an artist reach out to me. They have an idea, and I could kind of guide them or push them towards the right connections to make for they could expand the idea. I think that's where I really came up with the name Manifest, MNFST. Just because, again, since the start of 2018, like I had a vision, an idea, and I was very driven into really accomplishing it. And I started seeing that, oh shit, like everything really, everything I wanted was started to happen. Um, but yeah, I mean, a lot of the events that have happened in the past, honestly, were because of me or like small push that I made other artists towards. For example, recently we had a room for every vibe at
Yeah.
Unbranded with a whole big female lineup. That started because 2 years ago, like at the end, like 2020, at the end of the pandemic, I came up to Rudy, like, yo, coming into 2021, like we really like again, this kind of generates back into a safe space and stuff like that. Like there's small things that I've done here and there that has helped grow other people, and stuff like that. So yeah, I'm a very behind the scenes kind of guy, but also I do love the spotlight. I do like, putting myself out there. So with my music, um, and even hosting the events. Again, I'm always right there in the mic. Yo, give it up for the next band up. We're so and so. Thank you guys so much for being out here. So yeah, so if anybody wants to know who Lee Sanchez is, he's making shit happen, you feel me?
Yeah, you've been making a lot of things happen, like Manifest and um back with Backroom and Ventures. And what happened with that X-rated thing that you did, like the brand?
Oh, okay, so so during the pandemic, I kind of got a little bored and wanted to start up a new project in between, Ventures and Manifest. It was very much um sex, drugs, and rock and roll influenced, where I wanted to kind of break the stigma and the boundaries of what it really is to explore yourself sexually, expand your knowledge on whether it be toys, masturbation, um, gender fluidity, and stuff like that. When it comes down to drugs, I'm gonna be honest with you. Growing up since like 13, 14, 15, I was very straight edge. I always declared straight edge, and I still declare it to this day. But with like natural medicines like cannabis and
Mhm.
magic mushrooms, like honestly wanted to kind of open the door to other people and like to let them know how this has helped me during my chemo, my depression, and stuff like that. And how I have again influenced other people, my mother, my friends' parents, like they now are into like more herbal like remedies for themselves. But again, there's drugs, at the end of the day, people still classify them as drugs, and they do have a lot of psychoactive properties and elements to them. And then again, I wanted to influence that into rock and roll, and I'm very involved into the scene. So it's more or less something that I want to take up as a little small hobby to just kind of open people's idea to it. But right now with social media, it's very hard to push that content. Um, I mean, if you post a fucking vibrator, it gets flagged. If you post me smoking or showing a product, it gets flagged, it gets removed, and so I kind of took a step back from it, but a lot of the ideas that I did have for that page, I am going to influence into the manifest, into ventures. Um, so I'll start doing a lot of like promotional content with it through manifest. I want to get a lot of cannabis industry brands and companies involved in the manifest events. Same thing as we have vendors. I want to have actual like dispensaries. I've been to a lot of other cannabis events, expos here in Miami or in Florida. A very popular one is Dab Day. They have a bunch of dispensaries, set up their tables, educate people. They have vendors from glass to actual bud, goodies, edibles. So I want to influence that a lot with like music scene. So that'll be cool, interesting thing to do in the next couple of years or so.
Yeah, and I recently learned about this, but how do you feel about that law that they're trying to pass about trying to legalize marijuana in the United States?
No, of course, I'm very for that. When it comes into like political, point of views, I'm not very educated on it, but man, any way I could contribute into spreading the word and spreading the awareness, I'm more than happy to. But honestly, it's a big step. It's a long process. I know for sure from like other interviews and articles that I read, but um, I for sure in the next 5 years or so, we're gonna notice a big difference. I mean, I go to regular smoke shops now, like to
Yeah.
get, papers or Dutchies and stuff like that. And even there, they have like those Delta 8s and CBD jars full with flour. Like that's kind of like desensitizing people to like, yo, come into a shop and getting flour. It's gonna be natural. It's gonna be just an everyday thing.
As it should be, you know?
Yeah.
Um, I'm very for that. I learned about it last night. And I was just thinking to myself, like, this is what we need. It's just more freedom, I guess.
Yeah, of course. I mean, if you sit back and think about it, like you get a seed, you plant it, it grows, and it has a lot of properties and elements. Same thing as you fucking grow
A
tomatoes
vegetable,
outside
yeah.
or a vegetable. Exactly. It's gonna have properties, gonna have elements. If I grow an apple, if I get an apple seed, I grow it outside, it gives me apples, it's providing for me, for my benefits. I'm like, I don't know how back in the hundreds, like it crossed people's mind to start a war on it. So it's unbelievable.
Yeah. And so it seems like you have like a lot of career path, kind of like a lot of projects. What did you envision yourself doing as a grown up when you were younger?
Um, for sure, owning my own business. Again, my mom, as a young age, she was very much a business woman, very oriented. When she got into the States, her first job was McDonald's at like 18, and she thought that was so mind blowing because in Ecuador, that wasn't a privilege for a lot of like young kids. It wasn't until like you're like in your 20, 25, 21s, you get a job, you get to really make income and money. But for her being here at like 17, 18, work a job, make money, like that was so big for her. I think after McDonald's, she got into banking. And from
Okay.
banking, she got into mortgage and real estate. And yeah, I remember I think being in I think in like fourth, fifth grade, and she already had started her own LLC company. It was like a mortgage broker company, and she had her own employees, she had an assistant and stuff like that. So like that at a young age was very implemented me, and like, all right, I need to be my own boss if I'm gonna make it in the States and in the world in general. So that for sure was very as a child mentality, just I need to be my own boss, I need to own up to anything that I do. And again, coming like honestly, a very big turning point was again being 18, 17. Most of my friends are figuring out college and starting their career paths, finishing high school. I got the short end of the stick and got diagnosed. And I spent the whole, school year just really focusing on my life. I had no other choice but stare up at a ceiling, take chemotherapy and really think, am I gonna make it? Am I gonna make it? And if I do, I really gotta fucking destroy the world.
And
And
you have
that's,
been.
yeah, honestly, I'm really grateful. Sometimes I don't really see it that I've done so much. I feel like I haven't accomplished nothing, but it's honestly because of friends, because of support of the local scene that like I'm like, oh shit, I've done a lot. I've done a lot to really accomplish and make my name for myself out there. And little by little it's expanding. I'm only 25 and I started the scene when I was like 21, 20. So the last 4 or 5 years honestly have been eye-opening, and I still got a long way to go.
Yeah, and it's incredible. Like you've done a lot. Like I think that you're one of the reasons why I even got into the scene. And we say space, but you're like one of my, I guess I could say mentors, if anything. I just see you like up there. So I admire you a
I
lot.
appreciate that. Thank you.
And what's something you wished that you accomplished earlier on in your career?
What's the what?
What's something you wished that you could accomplish or that you accomplished earlier on in your career?
Um, Man, I think like just putting out more music. Like I wish I would have taken the time more to like really focus on putting out more content in general.
Yeah.
It wasn't until like the pandemic that like I realized like, oh shit, content is so important. Um yeah, I mean now again the whole way I want to approach into 2022, 2023 is just making a lot more like content, whether it be videos or like reels and just releasing music and stuff like this, podcasts, and just putting the image out there and spreading the awareness of myself, my brand, and what I'm trying to build.
And if you could be remembered for one thing, what would it be?
Um, I guess just making a difference. Um, a lot of people are like talk, 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 but there's not that many actions. And I'm a man of actions. I might have little words to say. I'm the one that at a party I'll be quiet in the group, but when I have to say something, it makes a difference. It's an impact. So yeah, if I'm gonna be remembered, it's just because I honestly made a difference in people's lives, in the community, and the way people think. Basically,
Yeah,
yeah.
you've made a big difference. And I know I keep repeating that. I just want to acknowledge that because you're a big part of the scene. And I think a lot of people should recognize that. So props to you.
Appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you.
This one's kind of a weird one, but what's an insult that you've received that you're kind of proud of or you are proud of?
An insult that I received that I'm kind of proud of. Um, Honestly, I think like the most thing that always like gets me just being confused by like other people. When I first started off in the scene, um there was already a musician that had been kind of making his name for himself called Lucas Lamonico.
Oh my
And
God.
yeah, so when I first started, a lot of people would come up to me and just confuse me for him. They'll be like, "Yo, you're that kid that plays at FAU. Yo, you're in that band." And I'm like, I hadn't started in the band fully. I hadn't had a full band formed. I hadn't released any music. So they'll just come up to me and they'll tell me like, "Yo, you're this kid." And then when I finally met him, he was in a band called Pastel, and he had been in previous bands. He had played in a bunch of other like local shows. So he had already kind of made a name for himself. So like that was pretty interesting. Like people confused me for him, and that's when I started like getting to know more of the local scene, just because people confused me for him. Um, I think honestly, yeah, I honestly got confused one time at a show to be Yucky Poor. I was just like, what?
What?
Yeah, some guy came up to me, he was like, yo, you're Yucky, right? I'm like, nah, but he's around here. Like he was actually at the event, but like, nah, but he's around here. I'm like, no sense. It made no sense at all.
That's really funny that you mentioned Lucas because I literally listened to his song yesterday for the first time and I never even knew of him, but yesterday I found out who he was.
Yeah, shout out Lucas. He just released a new track called
Retraced.
Retrace, and he's my boy. He's honestly, ever since of those confusions, me and him actually grew a stronger bond with each other. Um yeah, honestly, I'll hit him up, he'll hit me up. We love to smoke. We love to smoke together. So he's gotten me. He also influenced a lot of like my cannabis knowledge and experience. Like he knew a lot also. So hanging out with him, smoking to him telling me about different strains and stuff and how to smoke this, how to smoke that. That for sure also helped me and build my knowledge in the cannabis industry for sure also.
Yeah. And last question for this little section. What's the best piece of advice you could offer to someone trying to do what you've done?
Oh man. I mean, as any influencer would say, like don't give up, just keep on, keep on. If something fails and it doesn't work out for you, just keep on trying something new until like something will click. Eventually something will click. You'll grab a hold to it and just ride with it. But more or less into the scene and to like what I'm doing, I think one thing that a lot of people lack and that I do a lot is go out, make connections. Like so many artists are so used to staying around their own scene. Like if you listen to hardcore, you're gonna want to only go to the hardcore shows. I only want to talk to the hardcore kids. No, I went out to the hip hop shows. I went out to the rap shows. I went out to the indie shows. I went out to the acoustic and poets shows. Like I talked to all those type of scenes, type of people, just to really understand what the Miami community and just the whole music community in South Florida really is. So I think that's what a couple people, if you're starting off in the scene or you're starting off and want to be a musician and be in this path, like just make hella connections,
Yeah.
expand, like just If you see a show and it looks interesting to you, just go out there and support other musicians. Do you support them? They're gonna start supporting you, and vice versa. Like a virus, it's just gonna spread, and it's gonna spread to your own benefit.
Yeah. And there's a show tonight at Naomi's Garden. Would you happen to be going?
No, maybe depending on my schedule is. Again, I have a lot of things that I've been so blessed to be busy. Like
Yeah.
I think like 4 months ago, I wouldn't have been this busy, but luckily, again, pushing myself more. I'm so busy that like I have like 3 or 4 events that I want to hit up, and I'm like, fuck. It's like timing everything is just. But no, shout out to the Naomi's show going on, brought to you by Backroom Sessions. We got Pump Action releasing some new music and a whole fat lineup of artists on it.
Yeah.
So dope stuff to check out.
Yeah. So this next section, it's basically about your musicianship and just music in general. So as a musician, what's been the biggest obstacle that you faced in this industry?
As a musician facing obstacles. I mean, there's always different obstacles, whether it be your band members trying to find, coordination, scheduling, budget, money, all that. It's a big, you know, big problem for a lot of artists. I think one thing though that really hits me all the time is just the lack of venues or like space for us as artists to really put ourselves out there, promote ourselves properly, um, and more or less like a safe space where we could all just go and really have fun. I mean, back in the days, kids had, of course, Churchill's, or you had like other places that have shut down, Space
Yeah.
Mountain, or Open Stage Club in like the Gables area. Like that was like OG. But yeah, I mean, there's just very hard to get a decent venue space to promote up and coming artists, especially all ages. Like if
Yeah.
you're a young kid and trying to, get yourself into like big shows or big stages, like it's not easy because again, these really good venues, at least they're 21 and up. And even so, for like artists that are old enough to even get in there, you have to have, again, connections. You got to know the right
Yeah.
people. So I mean, if there was more variety of a lot more venues, then again, there's just a lot more freedom for a lot of artists to, set up shows and do stuff. But yeah, I think that's just a really big mission right now for
For a
even
lot
me
of
as
us,
as,
yeah.
a, as an event organizer, as a musician. Like I see the best of both worlds. So as an artist, one, yeah, fuck, it's hard for me to book a show, get on a show or on a lineup at a good venue. And then two, as a promoter or a event producer, it's hard to reach out to these venues and get the connections to really set up something there. Yeah.
And so regarding ventures, I know I saw you guys at the fair. Do you play any instruments yourself, or is it more like a performer status, like just singing?
No, yeah. So right now with Jonathan kind of stepping back from the spotlight of being in ventures, I'm taking on the role of rhythm guitar and singing. So it was all fun, like getting on the mic and moving around, jumping around, getting the crowd moving. But honestly, like my dream always was to play guitar. Even way before starting ventures, like I just wanted to be in a band. Like I wanted to, play, write music and play.
Mhm.
So now that the last fair I did play and sing, and that's just probably gonna be the new image for ventures moving forward, is just me playing and singing. Honestly, it's gonna feel really good to play and sing my own songs with my band, and we're all gonna just collaborate and really make these songs as powerful and as meaningful as we can.
Yeah. And where did you meet the ventures? I'm the members of ventures.
We all, as far as like the main founders, which is Jonathan Corona, Janio Hernandez, and me. We all met in middle school. We all went to an academy, Somerset Academy, Silver Palms, down in the Homestead Ghouls area. We've all known each other since like middle school, the start of middle school. And funny enough, me and J Neil had the same guitar class. We're probably like the only like seventh graders in a whole class of like high schoolers learning guitar. So that's where me and him really grew a big bond. The rest of the members of Ventures, we're always bouncing back and forth between like drummers and bass players.
Mhm.
But again, all of us either have known each other since like maybe like high school, middle school, like our first drummer, and our first bass player, we had known them since high school, Matthew and Daniel. And then after they left and we had disbanded with them, we had brought on JP. He was actually a former member of Hometown Losers, I think their first drummer. And then we brought on our middle school friend Moses Nambo, which is now the current bass player for Hometown Losers.
Wow. There's like a lot of hometown losers ventures. That's pretty cool.
Again,
Like
when I
connections.
first started when I first started into the scene, like they were a big influence. My first tour that I went out was we did a weekend there with Hometown Losers. Our current session drummer is actually the former drummer of Hometown Losers. So again, it's just back and forth combinations on things like that.
And Lee, well, do you have a release that you're not too proud of?
Um, Damn, I always ask you that, like, yo, what's your like, what song do you want to take back or like want to rewrite? Honestly, I want to say yes, but no, like I'm proud of everything that I've put out. Like maybe there might be a tweak on like maybe I wish I could have changed this verse, or maybe we should have started the intro differently. Like for sure when we play live, one song that I'll throw under the bus would be like Crawl. I don't like the intro.
Mm.
I don't like the intro at all. I wish we didn't like write the intro like that. But as far as like the instrumentals, I love it. But like the verse and like the lines that I put on that intro, like I wish I could do that totally differently. But the rest of the song smacks.
To be honest, I've only heard what he played at the set, but
Hmm.
I'm looking forward to hear more.
Yeah.
Like I'll put my headphones on at night and just like look at the ceiling, look at the fan, just like, yeah, this hits.
Yeah. I'm really excited on the new material that we're starting to write because it's genuine material. It's material that I want to write. Um and yeah, we can't wait to keep on writing them, record them, and eventually release them to the world.
And what inspired you to pursue music?
Um, Man, I was at a young age, I guess, influenced by a lot of rock. My aunts and uncles, like, just when I'll get in the car with them, they'll blast like rock music. Um, when I was started playing video games like ATV or WWE, Raw versus SmackDown, like all the themes were like rock music, very, heavy rock music.
Yeah.
Um, and I think by the start of middle school, I had to ask my mom to get me a guitar, and I ended up getting my first guitar, and I started learning songs. But most of the songs that I wanted to learn were pop punk songs. Some of the first songs that I started learning were like Sum 41 and Blink 182. That kind of really influenced a lot of my sound and like what songs and that I want to write. But more or less, again, I think after coming from like remission and stuff like that, I was just like, I really need to chase this dream. Like I have the
Yeah.
second chance. I have a second chance at life, and that really inspired me to like, all right, I'm hungry for this, and I really need to pursue it.
And how would your parents describe what you do?
Um,
Have they like told you like this is what I think you do, or
no, I mean, my mom, I grew up an only child with a single mother. And my father, I'll see him here and there. It wasn't very a strong relationship that we had, but he was very supportive on anything I did. besides my mom buying me my first like acoustic guitar, my dad actually bought me my first electric guitar, and it's one of the same guitars that I still play to this day at shows. So knowing that he was still supportive of me, even on like Christmases and stuff like that, he'll like ask me like, "Is there anything you need? Is there anything you want?" And I'll be like, just musical equipment. And he'll go and he'll take the time and to like really research, see what I needed, and go get it for me. But my mom, I think, just would be the biggest. You know, he just really encouraged me a lot. Um, she wanted to see her boy be a rock star, and I had to put it in a pretty simple manner. Um, she also I did have a passion for me to maybe be a chef. She told me
Okay.
to maybe go to school, learn culinary and be a chef because I love cooking. I love, cooking just anything. And if I were to look at a recipe and I'll go to a store, get all the recipes, and I really dedicate into cooking it properly. Or even just come up with my own ideas, add my own little twists and flavors to a recipe that's already set in place. So I really love cooking. One thing during chemo that I would do is just look at the Food Network, look at the cooking channel, and just be inspired by that. To want to like cook and try different flavors and explore that.
Right. Sorry, my brother just walked in, so I'm trying to like tell him leave.
No
But
worries.
how long, or rather, how often do you practice in a week? Like guitar, vocal leases, and just in general. Oh, there he goes.
Yeah. Um, man, practice. I'm not gonna lie to you, I do slack off here and there, but honestly, at least like 5 to like 4 times a week, I just sit down myself for like about an hour to 2 hours, just come up with a next part of a song that I already have in mind, or just practice just songs that I already have, like voices and 3 a.m. Just go over them, just make sure I never forget when the breaks are and the patterns and stuff like that. So I mean, yeah, for any artist, any musician, like just practice almost every day.
I think that perfect practice makes, well, perfect. What's something you wish you could change about your craft?
Um, change. I wish I would have just sorry. I wish I would have learned a lot more like guitar techniques at a younger age. A lot more like licks and riffs and like knowing the different patterns and stuff like that, which again I've been trying to self-taught myself a lot more nowadays. But if I were to change a craft, yeah, I would have been like learning more of a lot more of a music theory in
Yeah.
general, like notes and stuff like that. I can't read. I have to look at like tablatures and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I'll probably just change the way like I know how to read the guitar and play the songs and stuff like that for sure.
Yeah. Well, it's never too late to learn. I
Of
mean,
course, either also.
tabs
Again,
are simple, and to be honest, sheet music, like you don't really need it. You just need the tabs.
I'm
As long as you know like how to play and it sounds good, you're good. So these are the last two questions for the musician part. Do you have any merchandise, and when's your next show?
Yeah, so we do have merch. Something that I've been pushing the band to because we're going in a almost like another rebranding phase for us at the moment. Um, but I've always had wanted to have like a website for people to buy merch. But I've always been like, yo, you want to support us? Come to a show and you buy the merch there. Like, don't just right click and support us. Like, no, make the effort. Like, really mean that you want to support us. Come out to the shows, buy the merch there, talk to us, face to face interaction, one on one. That's something I always really encourage and love to do. But yeah, we do have merch. We have a couple of different merch designs. I always try to post up on like on Instagram every now and then, like, yo, if anybody wants to buy a shirt, just hit me up, DM me, come through on my days off. We could link up and you could try to get a shirt for yourself before the next show. And usually, right now for our next show, I have a couple ideas in mind. I have a couple, like for example, for Manifest, I have a couple show lined up where I could just, easily throw ventures in, but I don't want to. I got again, we're going into the little rebranding phase. So we're just waiting. I think I do believe in July, more or less in the summer, I might do another show for us. That's just to get our feet wet again. It's been a while since the pandemic that we've really touched on the scene. Our last show was 2019, no, 2020, and like the start of February. And then boom, pandemic hit in March. So it has been a while since we've really done a proper show. We've done a couple pop-up shows where we play the fair in November of last year. And we did at the beginning of the year at the Dubliner with like top tier, like Squids de Lior. And then again right now for um April, the fair. But yeah, we have no shows really fully planned out or booked yet. More or less towards the end of the year, you'll probably start seeing more activity from us.
That's really cool. Um, Now I want to switch the topic over to being an event producer. When did you, well, you told me around 2018, but when did you start producing events like with Manifest?
Um, so Manifest didn't come about until the pandemic, 2020, but I had been setting up house shows like wildfire between 2018 and 2019. Because again, it's for new up and coming bands, it's very difficult for us to get a venue to really trust in us to really host and plan out a show. So again, my mom being my number one supporter, she will let me throw shows at the house in our backyard or inside. um One of the first lineups that we had gotten into the scene was with a couple bands, Common Luck, Top Tier, Ella, and some other artists from like Orlando. And we had a venue secured up until the week of, and then the venue last minute like flaked. So everybody in the chat was like struggling, like, oh my God, we're gonna do the show. Are we gonna have to cancel the show? And I came up with an idea. I was like, hey, I mean, I always throw house parties at my house, and I've thrown a couple of few here and there. We've had a couple, a lot of people, at least 100 people at the crib, just chilling, throwing it back. I don't think it'll be an issue for me to throw some bands in the house. Um, I was probably like mid, late 2018. And honestly, that was something I've never seen before. We packed up the house, we had PAs, bands, drums set up. Like I've never seen anything like that. Like the whole process from setting it up to tearing it down. Um, the fact that we filled up my house like that and packed it up was just so shocking for me. Just not only as an artist starting off in the scene, but then like as a host for it just kind of like blew my mind. And from there on, that kind of fueled like a fire for me to like, all right, I love doing house shows because I always loved doing parties. I don't know, my mom, I always loved hosting. Again, she was already her own boss, so when it comes down to like office parties, she loved decorating, going out for her workers, giving free bottles, doing this, doing that. So yeah, that kind of like just fueled the rage for me of just doing house shows and getting proper lineups, good lineups. If a band was about to release an EP or a single, like yo, let's do it at my crib, the week of and stuff like that.
And so, what's your favorite memory of a gig that you've set up?
Um, well, so far that has to top it would be like the last Manifest Escape Bird with Deleted Films. That honestly, I've never thought I'd be hosting a show at a skate park and like packing it up and like just having kids just go crazy from moshing to skating to food and stuff like that. It was honestly a really, really cool experience. And of course, you can't beat the fair. The fair is honestly a really dope experience. I was able to, again, with backroom sessions, book and host some artists. Like I was able to get Play Kills onto the fair. I was able to get Ceci Leon onto the fair. So it was really good, like, again, hosting them, having them on there. Honestly, I would have to go back to the summer of 2019. I hosted a house show with like Remy's, Hometown Losers, my band. I think we had PJ Avels open up for us, and we had Moonlight Sunrise. If you guys don't know who that is, Moonlight Sunrise. RIP the boys. Shout out to the boys.
That's so funny that you say that. Oh my God. That was the first ever local band I saw, and it was at the fair. And yes.
Yeah, so yeah, we had a show like that. I think it was honestly Moonlight Sunrise last, like second to last show that kind of disbanded. Guitarist Andres is in a band called Porter Boys. They're doing very well. And Lolo, who was in the band Moonlight, is a really good helping hand for the band Porter Boys. So they have a lot of good things going for them. But that show was honestly, I think, one of the shows that we packed the most at the house. I remember doing the numbers, and we had packed over at least over 250 kids in the house. And it was so, oh my God, it was so hot to go in there. We did it in the living room, and we had like the backyard with like beer pong tables. We had a fire pit. Kids were roasting marshmallows, it was BYOB. Had a bunch of people bringing in their own liquor. We had people doing shots with the bands. But overall, it was a safe environment. Like nobody was, getting harassed, or nobody was having issues where people were, very intoxicated. Everybody was just having a fucking lit time. Like it was a good event. Honestly, I loved it. I love doing those house shows. Honestly, house shows are such a big passion for me starting off Manifest, just because getting everybody together, people bring their own drinks, and people bring weed, and we'll all share with each other and have a good time, tell stories, and meet new people you never knew before. And honestly, I have to give a lot of credit to those shows.
And do you have a list of like bands that you like to book?
Yes, I mean, I'm always making a list. Like every now and then, I'm like, let me get my phone out, my notes out. I always have a list of bands that I really want to like work with or get involved with. I mean, back in the days, I did always have a list of like, again, playing with Top Tier and booking them.
Yeah.
I was able to book Porter Boys, get them off the list, Hometown Losers, Happy Hour. Big bands have really make a name for themselves in the Florida scene. Some bands, like off the top of my head, like I want to do The Haunt. I want to book The Haunt. There's a band from Jacksonville called Interventions. They're honestly really good. Bloodbather. They're like Broward hardcore. I want to do a hardcore show. I've yet to book Cannibal Kids.
Okay.
I wanted to book Cannibal Kids, but I have booked Mustard Service, and it's honestly a really privilege to work with them. So knocking them off the list was honestly really good. The Hales also are another really cool band that I probably want to like book and work with on that. And one band that I do want to get down here again, they were from here, but now they live in Tennessee or in California. Games We Play. They're like some local legends.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I've heard of them.
Games We Play, Emin, and we have, Odd Sweetheart, a really, really dope artists that I want to book down here again in Miami for sure.
And do you have like a dream venue that you've always wanted to book at?
Venue? Dream venue? Oh, most definitely. I have a couple in mind, and I don't want to spoil too much, but we're already hopefully pushing towards talking to them and stuff like that. But I want to do Space Park.
Oh, okay.
I mean, fuck it, if we're able to book like Club Space, that would be like insane.
Like the ground or a club space?
More or less the ground, just because I know the ground has like a stage, but just in general, working with like Club Space and the whole foundation of that, those are big names for Miami. And again, those are just, they're very known for like DJs and stuff and raves and stuff like that. But back in the days, again, they'll get bands, they'll get artists and indie bands and stuff like that to play there. I for sure want to book there. Besides that, it's one venue that has come in mind recently. Oasis, Winwood.
Yeah.
Recently, like Remy's played there not that long ago, and Backroom Sessions did a collaborative event there recently. But I want to further get the connections there and probably set up a proper fest there for sure in the next couple months or so.
Nice. That's cool. And tell me, what's your least favorite part about like being an event coordinator?
Dealing with the artist, dealing with the bands in general, because I know what it is to be an artist. So like sometimes when I get that like thrown back towards me, I'm just like, oh fuck, like it's not no. But jokes aside, though, artists are honestly really fun to deal with because just knowing different perspective on like what artists want and what artists need. Um, but if I were to really talk down to it, I feel like it just even though I'm very like business, I'm very like hungry for this. I'm like, I honestly don't care about money. I honestly don't care about numbers. Like that's just something that fucking like eats me alive when I have to like deal with it. That's why I have a team. Like I try to let them deal with it. And I know I have to be smart about my money, how I spend, budgets and stuff like that. But like when it comes down to like event organizing and event productions, and I have to think about numbers and money, like I just like I'm not in this for it. Like I'm I'm just here to have a good time, change, make a difference, do an experience for so many other people. If we make over $1,000, we make a fucking $1 million. I wouldn't care. I just that's just not my drive, my motive. A lot of people are just coming to the shows looking for money, looking to make some money. Again, that's why I kind of joked about it, but like when I deal with artists, like they just throw me an insane budget or money that they want to like be paid for. I'm like, holy cow, like when you add up to their fan base and to their Instagram numbers or their Spotify numbers, like it doesn't make sense sometimes.
Yeah.
But yeah, when I have to deal with numbers and stuff like that, like I'm more like on the grounds, in hands, like show me the results. Like you're talking all this, you want to hear all this, but show me the results. I want to see the results. But this
Yeah.
is probably one thing my pet peeve.
So definitely like experiences matter more, which I
Hmm.
have to agree with because that show you did, Deleted Film 002, I'll be honest, one of the best shows I've been to in this entire like time that I've been involved in the scene. It's
Hmm.
like it was so good. Like there's skater people, there like it was just like the perfect indie
Yeah,
night. It was so
yeah.
cool.
Yeah, and just because of that show, it really helped blow up a little more manifest. Like I've been getting more contacts, more people hitting me up about like, yo, let's do shows. So yeah, honestly, that was a really good turnout for that. Honestly, I'm
Yeah.
really blessed and privileged.
And how do you afford all the gear for events?
um, I'm what you call one lucky motherfucker. Let's start back to like the first like house shows and stuff like that. Like the mixers and the PAs were all given to me by I guess people that just really like believed in me and really like wanted to see me grow. Like to set up the shows, like I'll have a mixer and PAs and mics and stuff like that. Like the first set of mixers and PAs that were given to me by a therapist. Believe it or not, like a therapist
Wow.
that I'll talk to for like a couple months, and he really saw how like coming out of chemotherapy and my mindset, and even though I'm dealing with a lot of depressions and anxiety, he saw that I was very driven for something, and that drive was going to really push me to great things. So he gave me a whole big JBL and Yamaha mixer and speakers, and that's why again when I did the first house show where like the venue canceled on us, I'm like, yo, I got these systems for a reason. Like this must be it. This must be for a reason. Those over time got worn and tear from like rain and the sun and so many bands blasting through that speaker. Then we got a new set recently now, and they were giving given down to us by our guitarist Genio's dad. He used to be his parents actually do weddings and coordinate events for weddings and parties. So he had this big DJ like rack with like, you know, a bunch of different like heads and systems to play with, and he had these two huge JBL speakers, are like 4 feet tall.
Wow.
Yeah, he just wanted to get rid of them. He was either get rid of them or sell them, and we're like, yo, just give it to us. So yeah, the boys end up bringing it. We have it now, and yeah, a lot of things that I've had, like mics and cables, or just stuff that were either left behind at shows, or just, you know, people just, you know, by the good hearts of other people just given down to me, which I'm again honestly blessed and privileged and lucky and grateful for all that.
Definitely, yeah. Um, my I have two speaker stands, like the PA stands and a PA system, but not the speakers. I bought my own speakers, and they were
Mm.
given to me by my neighbors. So it's pretty cool. Like a lot of people are very generous, and they see the potential in you, and they actually, well, give you things that
Yeah, of course,
get
of
like make the
course.
potential matter.
Real eyes, real eyes.
And where was I mean, okay, was there
Mhm.
ever a moment where you almost screwed up an entire show?
Screwed up an entire show.
Yeah.
Um, Probably, yeah. That's just because my ego talking. Um, Probably I had like an ex around at a show, and like I specifically told him, yo, don't, like, I don't want you around at the show. Ended up coming and pulling around, and they're like flirting with like other guys that are friends of mine.
Oh my
I kind of
God.
like really like it kind of like got me, and I should have known. I should have known better because I was like a couple years when I was younger. Not to ever let that get to me, but I've learned my lesson. You know, luckily nothing ever like really escalated from that, but for sure some of us had to be restrained and like held back just a bit. Um,
Oh,
that's Yeah, I probably blew that show almost just because like I wanted to let my ego overcome myself and be like, no, this shit show canceled. Like everybody has to go home.
oh my God.
But luckily, no, the party went on, all the bands had fun, everybody ended up having fun. Um, and then, you know, days after, you know, talking to like that specific ex, like she was like, look, I understand where you were mad from. I for sure, you know, I stepped out of line, and you know, so she kind of like admitted her fault, and then I admitted my faults. But as long as you're human, you guys all communicate with each other, and like everybody's understanding, you know, it works out for the best.
Hmm. Okay. And last question for this section. Do you have any events coming up soon? Maybe give us a little sneak peek.
Yeah, for sure. We're probably gonna announce it probably like next week, leading to next week. So I have 2 to 3 shows booked now, one every month. So one in May, one in June, and one in July. July one is a pretty big one. It's not fully, it's more of like we have a blueprint and we're like already pushing towards it, but it's not like officially.
Yeah.
It's like a big fest that we have in mind. June, we have a birthday bash for a certain lead in a band, maybe Creature Cage. Um, and then in May, we have an EP release show. Somebody right now on the scene is about to drop an EP, like the first EP. So we're pretty much excited for that. We're gonna help them honestly have the best show that they could possibly have. Amazing lineup, like stupid lineup. It's really, it's the boys. It's the boys. If you know that artist and you know their boys and you know everybody around it, it's honestly one for the homies. This one in May, and I better see everybody pack it up. I better see everybody 2-step in the pits. I want to see hella moshing, hella cross surfing, and yeah, stick around.
Is
May,
this
the
is this
second
May
week of May,
1? Is this for somebody who begins with the letter G?
maybe,
Okay.
maybe.
I won't say anything else, but okay.
So yeah.
All right. So now, on a more serious note, I noticed that on April 12th, was the 7-year anniversary of you beating cancer.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to say that I'm really happy that you're here, and I've always viewed you as somebody strong. What was the experience like fighting cancer and just feeling like this day might be my last?
Um, Honestly, every time like I probably get asked around that kind of subject, I always have to bring up this like first story. It was basically the first day that I found out. Um, because usually like how I started, I had a pain in my leg, and it went on for months. And then I'll go see a doctor. They said, "Oh, take an Advil." A month will go by. Another doctor said, "Get an X-ray." And then they noticed a small little line on the X-ray. They're like, "All right, next month, let's get an MRI." So the MRI happened on like a Friday, and then by like Friday evening, they're like calling me like, "Yo, you got to get admitted to a hospital on Sunday. We found something. It looks like a tumor, but we're not exactly sure how grave is it, right?" So Sunday, I'm at Baptist getting admitted, blood drawn. They're running fluids on me and doing tests. And then Monday, I'm being transported to UM hospital to do that biopsy to really get into the where the tumor is, pull it out, and see if it's cancerous or not. And that day was probably the most life-turning day ever. Um, I remember them doing the biopsy, huge needle, the size of those like Starbucks straws, like thick,
Ooh.
thick. Went in there. They kind of numbed the whole leg. They went in there, took out bone marrow, and then the doctor was like, "All right, give me 15 minutes. We're gonna go check under the microscope, and we'll let you know." Less than 5 minutes. Less than 5 minutes. The man said, "I'll be back in like 15 or 20 minutes." Less than 5 minutes, they come in and they're like, "All right, we got good news and we got bad news." And I kind of like looked at my mom and we're just like, "All right, what do we want to hear first?" Give us the bad news. Like, what's the bad news? It's cancerous. What's the what like after hearing such a bad news, what's the good news? I'm like, we could save the leg. We could, keep treatment and all that. You have a more possibility to really fight this and really survive. And at that moment, I guess my mom hearing like it's cancerous and we could save the leg, and we kind of stood there for a good 30 seconds in silence, looked at each other, and I see her that her whole life is just really like breaking down around her. And I kind of looked at her and I'm like, listen, we've been through much worse. So I kind of like really just brought a smile on her. She kind of hugged me and like cried. And honestly, I think I've been through much worse. If I look back at it, I'm still so young. I haven't experienced a gunshot or stab wound or stuff like that. But when I tell people like chemo, like I think I've probably been through much worse. But overall, the experience is something you don't wish upon anybody ever. Um, it's just a feeling of being weak at all times. It's just no energy at all. Um, it's like anything that you do, it's just like knocks the wind out of you. It's just you're so tired and so unmotivated. I was very unmotivated to do anything, even though it was very encouraged for me to just do stuff, like keep entertained. Like I just had no motivation at all. um yeah, just feeling of nauseous at all times. It was very hard, for sure, very hard. And at a point you did get I don't want to say you get used to it, but it just becomes like a numbing feeling to you that it's just it's just there. um yeah, it's honestly something that it's an experience that is hard to explain to anybody, unless you actually been through it. I've been sick, knock on wood, lucky, I can imagine a lot of people who went through COVID and that whole experience, a body shake, you can't breathe, can't smell, you can't taste, and that whole ache on your body and stuff like that. Like No, like, and I've had very horrible like flus and viruses that I've gotten sick with, where like I'm shaking in my bed for like the whole weeks, high fevers, but still that sickness that you get during cancer, it's just unlike anything.
Yeah. Well, I'm really glad you're here. Like, you've made an impact on a lot of people's lives, and you're gonna make a lot of impact on more people's lives. And you know what? If I had a glass of water, I'd say
Cheers.
cheers.
Cheers. Cheers.
um, what's something that you could tell to yourself from 7 years ago?
Um, damn. Um, don't live with regrets. Um, just I feel like I overthink a lot of things. I just have a lot of anxiety of overthinking. What if this went this way? What if this went the other way? And like that whole regret of maybe I should have done this differently and stuff like that. Um, yeah, I just wish I didn't have all those like regrets and self-doubt.
And who helped you along the way to recovery? I know your mom was a very big factor in just you staying happy and recovering well, but were there like any sort of nurses, your best friends?
Yeah, I'll have to give it up to for sure. The other survivors I met, um, and the other patients that I met, after, like during and after, chemo, I had gotten involved with this, well, the organization that helped me with my treatments called, um, Children's Cancer Caring Center, located in the Miami Cancer Institute in Baptist. Um, and from that program, they also have another program called Camp Fiesta, which they host a summer camp, for 2 weeks, in like Fort Lauderdale area, where they have a bunch of survivors and current patients that are healthy enough to go there. At that camp, we go to the beach, we do activities in the cabins, and then for about 3 to 4 days, they take us to Orlando, and we go to Universal, we go to Disney and stuff like that. We get the whole Make-A-Wish experience up there, so we don't have to pay for anything and stuff like that. But that community, those survivors and stuff like that, were a big influence in me. Some of them were ranging from 6-year-olds to 30-year-olds that were camp counselors there, and seeing them there, they've been in that camp since they were like young in their teens, and they now have families and careers that they're involved with. One guy in particular that I really looked up was, his name is Doug Esquire. He's actually one of the main like ambassadors for, the Miami Dolphins and the Florida Panther games. He's one of those hype people that comes out to the fields and like hype everybody up and stuff like that. So that really like influenced me a lot with him. And um yeah, that whole community, I really love them. A lot of them have still come out to shows. I got them involved in shows. And they've been really big supporters for me in the music scene for sure.
Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing that.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I promise we're almost done.
Mm.
This section of the podcast, I like to play games, and not the gaslighting type. I mean, like actual games. You could be as explicit as you like. I know since it's one of your brands, like explicit. Now let's start off. So corny. Let's start off with Would you rather? Are you ready?
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Would you rather have universal respect or unlimited power?
Universal respect or unlimited power? Man, that's a hard one. Holy cow. Each one comes with its own responsibility though, but like I feel like respect. I feel like respect is a lot more appreciated. Like with respect, you could again ask for favors that could grant you more power in different places and stuff like that. So I feel like respect is big for me, for sure.
Okay. That's actually a very insightful answer. Um, Speaking of not really respect, but we live in Miami. Now, would you rather never be stuck in traffic again or never ever get another cold?
Hmm. I could deal with traffic. I'm very a patient person, but yeah, and I have to deal with like a sickness or anything like that. I would for sure lean towards that, not having a cold ever.
Okay. Would you rather speak to animals or speak 10 foreign languages?
Animals for sure.
Yeah.
What? Like, listen, human communications, whatever language you want to speak to it's gone to a point where it's just boring. Like, I'd rather not communicate with somebody. I'd rather communicate with another species and learn about them and their ways. It's for sure animals.
Yeah. Now, would you rather have the ability to walk on water or have the ability to bend time and space?
Time and space, for sure.
That Thanos shit.
Yeah, you feel me? Like, just yeah, I'm a very like overthinker and I get a lot of anxiety. So like if I were have more control on like my decisions and able to bend space, but not even for myself, but like for others, like that'll be a really cool power to gain.
Last one, it's kind of deep. Would you rather change something about your past or your future and why?
Um ask oh man, that's a little tricky just because I right now recently I've been dealing with a lot of like not trying to focus on my past and focus on the now and not have so much regrets or of what I've done in the past. Um, but again, I'm a person that always dwells in the past, so I think I would have changed something that I have done in the past and rather see the outcome that have come with it.
Yeah. Okay. Now second and last game, smash or pass.
Interesting. Oh man. Okay.
I'll give you 10 celebrity names and you have to pick whether you'd smash or pass. Are you
Okay.
ready?
Sure.
Olivia Rodrigo,
Smash.
Meryl Streep.
Meryl Streep. I'm into
Nope.
cougars. I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm into like some cougars. But Meryl Streep. I feel like I'm too.
Think about Mamma Mia,
Smash,
bro.
smash,
Yeah.
smash.
Hayley Williams.
Just because she's an icon, I feel like no, I'll pass. I'll pass. Just because like I feel like she's something that has been through so much. I mean, again, everybody has, never know what everybody's been through, but she's too much for me. She's clean. She's tiered. Like I would never be able to
I love
smash.
Hayley.
I'm gonna
Okay.
pass on that.
Angelina Jolie.
Most definitely. Another queen though. I don't think I'm
Um,
like too much royalty for me to like even be. But would definitely smash.
Sarah Paulson.
Sarah Paulson. Which one's this one? Oh my god, why do
The
I?
the ugly crier from American Horror Story, like,
Oh my goodness. Yes, yes, I know who now. Pass.
oh,
Pass. I know she's an icon, but pass.
Adele.
Adele, pass. Another pass. I know she's grown up, and even back then, like she was a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful lady. But nah, I have to pass.
Billie Eilish.
Hmm. Controversial. Billy, man, who wouldn't want to? So exactly, I'm not like other guys. I'll probably pass.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Megan Fox.
Man, that's like your like middle school
Transformers.
crush. Exactly. That's like your
Transformers.
middle school crush and stuff like that. I'll for sure smash. I'll for sure Megan for sure smash.
Taylor Swift.
Pass.
She's got
No,
issues.
no. Yeah, exactly. I don't want a song to be written by it. I'm pass.
All right, last one. Billy Corgan.
Billy Corgan? No, pass.
All right.
Pass.
Okay, I have one last section and then
Mhm.
we're done. Okay.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about, I think we already like went through all this, but South Florida's local music scene. So I guess we can try to get this like quickly. What do you wish the scene had more of?
The venues, more like an
Yes.
more all age venues, and I mean I don't want to say more of, but because it in the last couple of years it has grown. But like again, back in like 2018, or like 2019 and 2018, there wasn't like proper like punk shows or like
Yeah.
very like hardcore rock shows at least in Miami. But now because of bands like Children of the Flesh and bands like Graves and Fractal Mercies and stuff like that, like it's becoming a lot more. And again, because of influence, because of Hometown and Top Tier, is becoming
Yeah.
a lot more of those emo and punk and pop punk shows that I always loved, because a lot of those you get them in West Palm Beach or the Broward scene and stuff like that. Now I've seen it grow more towards Miami. And every now and then I look at my story and there's like some crazy mosh pits going
Yeah.
on and kids just going crazy as a proper punk show should, feel
Should
me?
be,
Like
yeah.
everybody's very DIY and expressing themselves. There's so many much more characters out there now, which wasn't back in the days. So I love that. I wish there was more though all age venues to really securely accommodate those type of shows.
And do you see any specific genres lacking in our scene?
No, I mean,
I
again, I
think there's
wish,
a lot.
yeah, there is a lot. 'Cause again, I always wish there was, and now there is, just because the whole pandemic honestly reawakened everybody, and a lot more varieties have been coming out. There's so much good sound coming out right now in South Florida, and in so much abundance. Like these shows, there's so much to keep track of and to go out to, because a lot of these shows also are DIY, and people just doing their best to make it happen. Again, shout out to the scene to really keeping this up. Honestly, it's none of this would. It's not just me. It's not just backroom sessions. It's not just like black market or stuff like that. It's just the kids that are driving this. The people that are really hungry for this. There's a lot more people hungry for it, and it's honestly really cool.
Yeah. Do you have like a certain venue that you admire the most?
Mm, admire the most. I would have to give it hands down right now to the Boombox.
Yeah.
Boombox honestly has been an itch and a crave for me. Seeing that grow. I wasn't around for the original Boombox location, but the 2.0 version that a lot of people are coming into now. Crazy, crazy what Laz and Mango Frankie and like the whole team have been doing there. Um, that's very punk as fuck, like very DIY, very underground, like word of mouth. And to get over 1,000 kids for some events that they host there to pull up is just insane. Insane. That venue is honestly really proper, really good. Um, yeah, hands down, Boombox honestly is taking the throne for at least venues right now.
Yeah.
So even when I talk to artists, they're like, "Oh, I'm trying to book at Rosa's or I'm trying to book at Gramps," but they're like, "Nah, but my top of the list, I want to do Boombox." I'm like, "Coño."
I have yet to visit the Boombox. I had a chance, I think, last October, but I couldn't. I don't know why I couldn't, but I just couldn't. And I really regret it. I wish I could have gone to Boombox.
If it's not
Now,
if, if it's not Boombox, then I'll have to give it to like Gramps. I,
yeah,
I really I really enjoy Gramps. I really like that. There's the outside patio and then the theater. I was like, yeah, like Gramps is honestly another really good hit. Like if it wasn't for Boombox coming around, my eyes would have always been on Gramps. And then even before the pandemic, I knew Gramps was gonna pop off. And then now, thanks to a lot of like these touring acts that are hitting Gramps, big
yeah.
shout out to like Break Even Bookings. I have been booking a lot of really good artists there, and even getting a lot of the locals onto there. Like, holy cow.
Now, do you have any like top three favorite musicians from South Florida?
Man, you'll have me pick on my top
Yes,
three, bro.
just three,
So
dude.
many good ones. All right. I mean, um, off the dome, like I don't want to like say like this is my number one or this is my number three,
Yeah,
but no random order. But off the dome, Fractal Mercy, um, Palomino
yeah,
Blonde. I've had a big heart for them for a long time. And man, I'll have to. Man, this is a tough one. This is a tough one.
I'll give
I'll
you
have
two
to.
more. Like you
Okay.
can do this one and then two more.
Okay. So okay, I already have Frogs from Mercy. I have Palomino. I have to give it to L'Exquisite de Lior
Ooh, I haven't
coming
heard
out
of
of
them.
coming out of Broward. They're making a lot of moves, a lot of noise. I really love them. And I'll just have to throw for the homies, Remy's. The Remy's, they've been the boys for since I first started. So I first seen them at the falls, playing at the falls and stuff like that. Like Remy's for sure. They have a couple new singles in the work. They have one new single that they recently filmed the music video for, and I'm gonna be in it. Might see me in the corner there or something, but yeah, Remy's are the boys, man. I really love them. I really appreciate them.
All right. And what high school did you attend?
So majority of like middle school and like high school, I went to Somerset Academy Silver Palms.
Mm-hmm.
It's like in the Ghouls, like almost entering Homestead area. Um, but around like ninth grade, I did like drop out. I wanted to do homeschooling, like I wanted to be in my own space in my own community. But even still, I lived in the neighborhood of the school. So even like after school, I'll go hang out with the kids in the football fields. I'll go to the sporting event. So I'll always rep like Somerset Academy. Um, even as growing up as a kid there like that. But yeah, that's where we went. That's where again, that's where Jonathan and Janio graduated from.
Hmm. And how has this scene affected you the most?
It's giving me everything I wanted. Just being in front of a crowd, having people scream back lyrics that I wrote in my fucking room, depressed
Yeah.
as hell. And just being appreciated is just honestly so cool, so really awesome. um Again, it's given me the platform to really express myself and really envision this dream a lot more of being a musician, of being a rock star in some sort of sense.
Hmm. Okay. Now this one's a very deep one. Embrace yourself, okay?
Hmm.
305 till you die?
What?
305 till you die?
Of course.
All
Yes.
right. So last and final question of this entire interview. How are you feeling today?
Again, like I told you in the beginning of the pod, like I'm happy, I'm good. I usually have, my days or my weeks there I'm like very low, but today I'm honestly very grateful, very excited. Woke up, wrote some new music, got on with you. Afterwards, I'm gonna get ready, go on to a show in Fort Lauderdale. It's one of my favorite bands called Amity Affliction. They're like
Hmm.
Australian. They're more like hardcore, melodic hardcore, post-hardcore. They're in town and I want to go see them. They're a very big help during the chemo. A lot of the songs got me through a lot of chemo sessions and a lot of like my own personal demons. So I'm very excited to see them going to the pits. It's been a while since I've actually gone out to like an actual concert.
Yeah.
Now I've been involved into the local scene so much. So you get to local shows and like local venues, but going to
Like a big arena.
a bigger venue and bigger artists, bigger name artists. Like it's been a while, and I'm excited to do that tonight.
Yeah. Well, Lee, it was such a pleasure to have you on Odd. That's the name of this podcast, which I'm gonna say like in the intro, but it's odd because I don't I forgot the intro. Honestly, I'll just tell you. It's the podcast where we discover hidden talent from South Florida and bring them into the limelight to promote their recent works and overall brand. That's what I wrote. So
That's awesome. That's perfect. That's to the point, to the touch, and
yeah.
it's honestly been a privilege and an honor to be here.
All right. Do you have anything else? Any final words you want to say to the viewers and listeners?
Um, Sad Boys are coming back in town, baby. Ventures, Manifest. Keep on following us. MNFST. And Ventures VNTRS. Follow Backroom Sessions also. If you guys want to really get involved into the local scene, Backrooms Honesty, we're doing a lot. They're doing a lot. Rudy, Sarah, Louis, the whole team, they're doing a lot of activities. So keep an eye out. There's a lot of cool things coming out for the summer and the end of the year. And yeah, we'll see you guys soon in the pits.
All right. See you soon, Lee. I can't wait to attend your next event.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. Okay.
Yeah, dude. Take care.
Appreciate it.
Bye.
Bye.